Welcome back, Smart Start Radio family. Before we get into our latest amazing episode, we have a quick word from our sponsor. With spectacular hotels, amazing theme parks, and unparalleled entertainment, Universal Orlando Resort offers a meeting destination unlike anything else in the world. Let's be honest, food is one of the first things people remember about an event, but one of the first things people complain about if it goes wrong. Too cold, too slow, not enough options. Someone forgot the gluten-free, the coffee ran out, the dessert melted in the sun. Oof, what most attendees never see is the amount of planning, timing, and problem solving that goes into feeding hundreds of people at once without missing a beat. Today, I'm joined by executive chef Kaitlyn Weber from Estancia La Jolla Hotel and Spa in San Diego. And we're talking about what really happens behind the scenes of large-scale event catering, how chefs prepare for the unexpected, and how planners can work with culinary teams to create a better experience for everyone. I'm really excited about this episode, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did producing it. Let's go.
Smart Star Radio. Smart Star Radio. Ready, say, here we go with another episode. Watch as we learn and grow. That's Smart Star Radio. Smart Star Radio. Ready, say, here we go with another episode. Watch as we learn and grow.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here and talk about a little bit about my passion in life, which is food, everything and anything food. I live in San Diego, California. I am executive chef at Estancia La Jolla Hotel and Spa. I've been here for a little over a year, but I've been cooking in San Diego in various restaurants and hotels for the last 23 years. I am originally from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, born and raised there, but came out here for a little change of pace and some sunny weather. And
I'm sure.
Yeah. Right now, I think it's snowing and freezing there. So I'm super happy to be here.
God.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's probably considerably better where you are.
It really is.
So to kind of kick things off, I'm kind of curious, because I love food, but I don't make food like you make food. So how did you get into this whole industry of just creating for folks to feast on?
Yeah. So, I've always been a food lover. I think it started from my mom and my sisters growing up. My mom was always cooking at home. I come from a very traditional family where my dad worked and also had his own business. We had dinner on the table at 6:00 every night without fail. And she was kind of a hybrid home cook, but a little bit of a box can cook, But we had gardens, and in the summer, that is when the weather was warm. But I come from an entire Midwest family of great cooks. All of my aunts and my grandmothers had gardens, did canning and preserving through the winter. And that's a big thing where I'm from because we don't have they didn't have a lot of fresh produce in the winter. So now things are different, of course. We have all the vegetables year round here in California, but now that translates to places that, didn't have it before. It's a lot is shipped from South America, Mexico, and California. So, I cooked a lot with my mom and my sisters growing up. And then when I moved away, I was going to college actually to be an art teacher. I've always
That's a shift.
Very different. Yeah. One of my sisters, she was a teacher. She was a first grade teacher. And so I always looked up to her and I loved art. I've always been very artistic and visual with my learning. So I loved my art teachers in high school growing up.
Right.
I lived in the Pacific Northwest for a very short time in my early 20s, and I started going to farmers markets out there. And I went to Seattle Pike's Place Market for the first time, and I immersed myself in the food scene out there. And this is in the early days of Food Network, too.
Wow.
In the early 2000s.
Wow. Okay.
That was a big inspiration for me. I was like, oh, there's all these cool things I didn't know about that we couldn't get in Iowa,
Right.
I lived in the Pacific Northwest for a short, I think, 9 months, 8 months. And then I moved down here to San Diego, and my world was expanded and mine was expanded with all the culinary scene here and the fresh produce and the local purveyors, and living right next to Mexico. There's all these really cool places to eat and visit. So I think that's where it all started.
Wow. Okay. So when you're trying to do it for scale, for size, for groups, how do you still maintain like the quality of like, this is really still really good food, even though it's like you have to make a lot of it? Like, how do you still balance that with like it being healthy and good and tasty all at the same time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I'm writing a menu or thinking about serving a large group, it always goes back to what makes sense. Like, you're not going to put something that like a fried food, like eggplant parmesan, that's going to sit in a shafer and get soggy. Or, you're going to do things, a lot of like braised dishes, roasted chicken always does well. Things that hold, like things that, we only hold our food for about an hour or maybe 2 at the most, but things that make sense to be prepared and to sit under a heat lamp that are still going to maintain their integrity for the entire time that the food is going to be served on a buffet. For example, it's a little different for like a large plated event. We'll do plated events for 3 up to 500 here at Estancia.
Wow.
And I love them. They're super fun. So, I like to plate a la minute right before the event. So everything is prepared fresh, put on the hot plate fresh. And again, it's things that make sense being held hot, cooking it and serving it right when it's done, like in a restaurant. You're cooking it, it's going to sit and wait until the group is ready and then go on the plates. And then it also has to travel from where you're plating it to the table. So you need to make sure it's all about timing and, logistics and what makes sense. So,
what's like the biggest issue that you see in doing that? Like folks like are saying to you, like, certain people can't have blah, blah, blah. How do you factor those into your process? Because like they can't do milk, they can't do like fish or stuff. So how do you craft those aspects into what you're already doing so it's still like, still amazing, but, just a little bit different?
We run into the whole spectrum of dietary restrictions on a daily basis here at the hotel. If we're serving between 300 and 500 people, you're bound to have a good amount of people that have some restrictions. So we kind of have an extensive menu for banquets and catering. It's 52 pages. So
wow.
There's a lot.
Like front and back?
It's like a 100-page menu. I guess that includes beverages, but still, it's a huge menu. We try to create something that accommodates everyone. And there's always going to be, and I always keep this in my head, like there's always going to be last minute requests. There's always going to be a few people that didn't give their dietary information to the contact. So we just stay ready at all times. It's kind of like, I'm fortunate enough. I have a banquet operation, but also at the same time, I always have a restaurant operation running. So I write that menu to be able to accommodate any last minute requests. Like they always have potatoes that weren't cooked in butter, or, they always have raw proteins that in case there's like a pepper allergy, we can cook on the fly in a pan with no pepper, things like that. So you just have to stay ready at all times. Basically,
gotcha.
If you just know there's going to be last minute requests and you have an idea and a plan in your head, then it's not as surprising. It doesn't catch you off guard. I'm planning weeks, months in advance, and for some events, for some larger events and things like that. But also we'll write custom menus. For example, recently we had a group that one person had an allium allergy. And for me, onions and garlic are the base of almost every recipe. But we accommodated and we basically wrote that menu to accommodate that particular group. And we'll save it for future use because you never know what's going to happen. If it's like 1 or 2 guests, we can easily prepare their items.
Yeah. Looking for a way to add some swagger to your meeting? Hold it in Dallas. You'll find 20 plus diverse neighborhoods bustling with entertainment, art, and chef's kiss worthy food. Not to mention the world's best icebreaker, the famous Margarita Mile. Whether it's a Michelin Guide recognized chef's table for 10 or seats at a big game for 1,000, Dallas is a playground for networking, team bonding, and after the meeting memorable moments. At its heart, you'll find a vibrant, walkable arts district voted #1 in America. Drop into downtown's historic Deep Ellum neighborhood for a show or take the team and the energy to the next level atop of Uptown's stylish rooftops. Get the creative juices flowing in the colorful Bishop Arts District or any of the lower Greensville trendy hotspots. Want to energize your attendees with just the right amount of that legendary Dallas swagger? Start planning your meeting at visitdallas.com. And now, back to our show. Yeah. Well, it seems like you really like think about all the different like routes that could take in terms of like what people are asking for. So what's like the most unique request you've gotten that was like, ooh, this might be like, we can do it, but it might take a little bit of, wiggle room.
Yeah. We take dietary restrictions and allergies very, very seriously here.
Yeah.
It scares me because I don't ever want to be the cause of someone reacting or going to the hospital or getting sick.
Yeah, of course.
So we take that super serious. Sometimes I'll just be like, I got to be honest with you. I can't prepare that. I can't do that here, but I'm going to find a solution. I'm always going to find a solution to accommodate a guest. I come from a 5-diamond hotel that one of our like sayings was, we don't say no. We always find a way to accommodate the guest. And that's kind of instilled in me. And I brought it here to Estancia. So when these dietary restrictions that are severe and can cause like anaphylactic shock come up, I take it into serious consideration. And for example, I always have an example. We, not too long ago, had a guest that had airborne shellfish allergy. And that's a serious one. Yeah. And I also had an airborne peanut allergy yesterday.
Oh, God.
So
wow.
I know that I have shrimp and I know I have oysters in the kitchen at all times. And I can't guarantee that they're not going to come out. We have, 35 people working in the kitchen on a daily basis. So on that case, I will reach out to a trusted vendor. We have a vendor that does our kosher meals and they don't use any shellfish. But we still have to put the disclaimer on it that this item was not prepared here. This is what I can offer you. And otherwise, I don't feel comfortable. That's like the only case I'll say no. Fortunately, with the airborne peanut allergy, I was thinking I don't have peanuts anywhere in the kitchen right now. So I felt safe with that one. So it's kind of a case basis.
Right. One thing I'm curious about is, so when you're working with a team to craft the menus, like how closely do you work with them? Is it like you're sending emails back and forth like all week long, or what's the usual process for that for you?
Well, it depends, again, on the situation. We do a ton of weddings here at Estancia. So I work very closely with the wedding coordinator in creating custom menus, often going so far as to do the tasting myself in person to make sure that the guest gets what they want. Like the catering and sales department is I work very, very closely with them. And as well with my banquet chef, she's involved. She's very talented. And, the more information she has, the better she can execute the event. Right. So they're very communicative and we meet 3 times a week. We discuss the banquet event orders. We go over any special dietary needs or any, those details that need to be hashed out. And we'll go so far as to have additional meetings or meet after the banquet meetings. So we're very close in communication in terms of our banquets because we can get really busy here. So.
Yeah, I can imagine. Is there obviously it's an ongoing process for you between talking to so many people, but is there a question you wish that was asked about what you can do that isn't usually asked? I know sometimes people don't ask about I don't know, just certain things that maybe you think about, but they don't think about that is vital to how you are doing your job for them.
So a lot of people don't really think about how this food is going to sit for a few hours, and how often we would need to refresh it or to make sure that it's top quality. Because I would say that banquet and catering cooking is more challenging than restaurant cooking because you have to keep those things in mind in terms of holding time. When people request certain things, I'm I want to say, hey, this might not necessarily make sense to hold for 2 hours, but I think this would be a good compromise, or something comparable to this would make more sense to hold on your banquet that's out on the courtyard in the sun for 2 hours.
Right.
So I don't want to serve ice cream on a hot day in the summer when it's just going to melt no matter how much ice you put around it. So
that's fair. That's really fair. Is there a specific memory you have of a request or a event that you put on that is particularly like you really enjoyed the process of crafting menu?
You know, each event is very different. My passion is putting on these big parties and elaborate parties. I kind of fell into this job. I wasn't expecting to work here. And I worked down the street for 10 years and I didn't really know about this little gem in La Jolla. But Estancia throws the best parties. We have 4 big activations a year and they're just really fun to plan. They're all very different and unique in their own way. And so, you know, like last year was my first full year here at Estancia. And I got to throw every party this year. And so our first party in the spring is called the garden party. And it's kind of like a tea time / like boozy tea, all out, super fun party. And so for the first garden party I did this year, I like to have a theme or direction for any like big event that I'm planning. And another passion of mine is traveling. So I tied the two in. Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand, food and travel.
For sure. I mean, you got to go where the food is. Might as well.
Exactly. Yes, definitely. So I wrote that menu to be centered around places that I've traveled and food that I've experienced in those places that make me happy and like made me feel like a tea garden party. So, you know, I did a different station. Each station was a different country. So I did. Yeah. So, of course, I did like an English tea sandwich station. I did like an Asian, like dim sum table.
Nice.
I did a Spanish tapas table. And then, of course, I did French pastries because that makes sense. You know,
now I'm hungry.
Yeah. It was super fun. It was such a great party. So I like to cook globally. Iowa doesn't really have a food culture. It's Midwest, which is great, but it's not like you can pinpoint that's from the Midwest, you know? It's not like Mexican food where you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely from Mexico. And there's nothing you're like, that's from Iowa, you know? So I kind of considered myself a global chef because I've tied my travels into my culinary style. And also I've been in San Diego for so long that's kind of ingrained in my culinary style as well. So yeah, I mean, I do a little bit of everything. It's super fun. It makes it very interesting because I'm always thinking, you know, I'm always planning a trip. That's super important to me. I always need a trip to look forward to, and I take inspiration from every place that I go. So that's kind of how I write my big party menus.
Okay.
That's just one example of one of our events. All of our events are very different. So So our next event during the year is Agave Fest in the summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's very Mexican. We have mezcal and tequila vendors come and we kind of make it a big fiesta with, you know, mariachi band and a lot of super great, all the classic Mexican foods we did last year. It was just such a great party. We had such a good time.
Wow. That does sound like a lot of fun.
It was.
So how often do you travel then? Like, do you like time it out or what's usually your process for like going and staying? And because clearly like your schedule is busy. So how are you doing all of that?
I have to be very methodical about how I do it because, you know, I do work 50, 60 hours a week here.
Wow. Yeah.
But, you know, I just have to plan out. I plan out my next month's schedule and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go, like, I'm going to take an extra day or I'm going to put my days off back to back because I can move my schedule around a little bit. And I'm going to go to Rome for the weekend or, you know, I'm going to go last month. I
casually go to Rome. That's nice. That's nice. I'm really envious.
I have a little, like a cheat trick, like a little tip, insider tip. My boyfriend is a flight attendant. So
there you go.
That's why now I travel some. That helps. That helps a lot. But I did have a planned vacation, my first real planned vacation last month. And I went to Thailand and South Korea for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's planned ones here. And then there's some that I'm like, okay, I'm going to go on this trip with you. It's only a day in Rome, but I'll take it. I don't even care. So
you don't like plan it based on like where you would like to try the foods more just because it's conveniently you're able to get there? Or do you sometimes do it based based on like, I want to try whatever is in like Rome or Japan or China or wherever the food is. Like, is there sometimes like a shift in how that process works for you?
Yeah. So, the next time I have an actual planned vacation, I'm going to make it a culinary destination that I haven't, like, I would love to go to Italy and travel the regions because I've been to Rome. Rome's great. I love it. But I really want to go to Tuscany and, all the regions in Italy just to try everything. I'll go anywhere at any time for any amount of time. So, and I'll find inspiration anywhere. But the last minute trips, like the little 3-day trips here and there, I know I'm going to try something new. Everywhere I go, I try to find something I've never had or bring something back that you can't get here. So,
Is there a dish that you've had overseas that you made here that you like really like liked making and or eating?
Man, there's so many. So here at Estancia, one of our restaurants, our dinner restaurant's called Mustangs and Burros. And there's a little backstory behind that. The property is an old horse ranch and we're situated on a cliff overlooking the ocean in La Jolla. And so it used to be a long time ago horse ranch. We have a few of the original buildings. And so it's kind of that like ranchy, rustic, Spanish style feel here at the property. And the restaurant when I started here was Baja cuisine, which I love, but I don't want to be pigeonholed to one region. So I rewrote the menu for the concept to be global Latin because I've done a lot of traveling in Mexico, in Spain, in South America. So I brought back a few dishes that I really love from Peru, from Colombia, and I put them on the menu. A classic Peruvian dish, beef lomo saltado, which is kind of like, there's some Asian fusion in Peruvian cooking, which I love. So it's kind of like a Peruvian beef stir fry, the way they do it traditionally there. So my interpretation, they use, the ají amarillo chili, which is not a super spicy chili, but it gives it that peppery flavor. My interpretation of that dish for a restaurant setting is a prime New York strip with a lomo saltado sauce with some yuca fries and some ají amarillo aioli, kind of taking a twist on a traditional dish and elevating it to make it make sense in a restaurant setting. So, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's several other, I have like so many other dishes that brought back from inspiration from all the places I've been and everything I've done. But I keep a lot in my back pocket to bring out for special events or, menu updates or things like that. So,
is there a dish that you're excited to eventually try that you haven't tried before? Like for your travels you haven't been to that you're like, I want to try or experiment with, yada, yada, yada. Well, first I want to try it first, then I want to try to replicate it when I get back.
That's a really good question. No one's ever asked me that before, actually. I'm going to have to, I know, you got me. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think because I've been a lot of places. Obviously, I haven't had everything. I mean, I'm not like an extreme eater. I'm not. Well, I was in Thailand and we're at the street markets and I'm not going to try a fried scorpion. Like
That's fair. I mean, that's fair. That's a fair statement. I also would not probably try a fried scorpion on the street.
My boyfriend tried it, but I in Oaxaca, I did the chapulines, the crickets, and I tried one and I'm like, I can see where this makes sense. It's high protein, but it's not for me. I'll try anything twice usually, but I didn't do the scorpion this time. I did try a few new things when I was in Thailand. There's some crazy seafood there. But honestly, like anywhere in Asia, there's always things that I'm like, I've never seen this before. I need to try this, but I can't think of a dish off the top of my head that I'm like, I need to try that and replicate it. But I'm going to find out now that you said that.
Cool. Mission started. Awesome.
Yeah, totally.
One thing I'm always curious about, because this comes up quite a bit for us, is that like people who are, vendors for events, like sometimes they wish like people would ask them certain questions or would think about certain things prior to working with. Is there one thing particular that you feel like you wish people thought about more, that on any level of the process that you think our audience would like to know?
I think that when you're planning an event, like at a large scale event, what do you want the vibe to be like? Do you want it to be casual? Do you want it to be more fine dining? Are we doing, plated service? Are we doing, is it timed? Is it on a rigid timeline or does it have a little bit more leeway? Because, if I have that information, I can really craft a unique experience. Are they looking to do something standard off our existing menus or something custom? Are they looking for something a little different outside the box maybe, which I'm willing to do as well, or we will literally write you a custom menu here at Estancia. I think that's the unique thing about us. I'm sure there's other places that do it, but for example, we had a large group, I think it was 300 people, and they wanted to do something different for the last night. There was a hotel buyout. And so I was like, well, why don't we do family style? Almost every hotel will do a plated dinner or buffet, but family style is a little bit more sharing and passing the plates and talking about the food and interacting with your table mates, And that's kind of my thing. It's my style. And a lot of places don't do like a banquet setting family style menu. So we did a family style menu for 300 people in 5 different spaces with dietary restrictions.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of moving parts. It was a really great learning experience.
I'm sure.
I've never done one on that scale. That was the biggest one I've ever done. But all in all, the guest was happy and it was a successful event.
Nice. Is there anything that you've learned from, since started working here? Is there anything that you've learned that has really helped you to adjust and grow with every new event or group or event that you guys have?
Oh man, I've learned a lot.
I'm sure.
I've learned a lot in the year that I've been here. I learned that you don't have control of everything. Kind of speaking to what I mentioned earlier, if you just expect the unexpected, it's not going to stress you out. And as a leader, and when you're running an event like this, once you're stressed out, your staff is stressed out. So you have to be calm and cool, collected, no matter what happens, no matter what's going on in your head. And you just have to find a solution and make it work, no matter what it is. So it's really thinking on the fly and just staying calm and focused and, having a backup plan for your backup plan.
So for you, what does that look like? If you have a backup plan, what does that look like for you normally?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my backup plan is, I have 3 other chefs that I work with. So I know I can always count on one of them to be like, we're plating across the hotel. I need you to run to the restaurant and grab this. And they don't have that. Then I'm like, okay, it's like a special request. What can I offer that's comparable? Because, it's a big operation. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of cooking prepped things.
For sure.
I know there's always something in the kitchen that I can figure out or make last minute, This is kind of a funny and a recent one. We had a large wedding and there wasn't enough soup. And so I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? You can't make butternut squash soup happen in 5 minutes. But I have butternut squash on 2 different menus. So, and they're already pureed. So quickly, one of my chefs ran and butternut squash soup in 5 minutes.
Wow.
You really have to think about it. And if I don't have butternut squash ready, what do I have ready that I can make into a quick soup if I'm not enough soup was made?
So how big is your team usually?
I have 35 cooks and...
Wow. You have an army.
Yeah, 35 cooks and that includes stewards as well.
Okay.
We have a stewarding department and I have 4 chefs.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a huge team.
Yeah, it is big. We do like $20 million in food and beverage revenue a year.
Yeah, so, that makes sense. Yeah, that's still a lot of people. Wow. So how big is your space?
We have a pretty large kitchen.
Okay.
We have a restaurant kitchen, a huge banquet side, and then we have a cold kitchen as well. So,
okay.
Yeah, okay. There's bigger kitchens out there. We're not the biggest, but we have enough space for what we do. I think pretty sufficient. I'm happy with it.
Awesome. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you feel our audience would want to know about in terms of what you guys do, what you guys offer, and anything relevant to our conversation?
Yeah. So here at Estancia, we're kind of always evolving. We change the menus for the restaurants seasonally, and our banquet menus change once a year. We take a lot of inspiration from our travels, from the seasons from locally sourced ingredients here in California and Mexico. So there's always something exciting and new happening here at the property. We're also coming up with new, really fun events, some garden dinners, some tequila dinners. So I'm really excited for the future of Estancia here and to really like elevate what we're doing and, make us the best hotel in San Diego.
Awesome. Well, I have to come down at some point and visit because that sounds delicious. And I definitely want to check out your menu.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have a lot on there that I'd be like, yum, yum, yum. But thank you, Chef Kay, so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure our listeners will appreciate it and will probably, hopefully, come visit you as well because clearly they need to come and host their event with you guys.
They do.
In the near future.
Thank you so much. This was really fun talking. I'll talk about food all day long.
I too love food.
Me.
I'm glad. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you.
A small star radio. Small star radio. Ready, say, here we go with another episode. Watch as we learn and grow. A small star radio. Small star radio. Ready, say, here we go with another episode. Watch as we learn and grow. Starting smart is an action we design. Meeting other minds, how to better use our time.
You've been listening to Smart Start Radio, a Smart Meetings production. Interested in being our next guest? Connect with us at editor@smartmeetings.com.